I'm going to start with a poem called Snow Falls. She wakes to a morning with no reason for living, cries in the mirror to be forgiven, puts on her makeup, takes off her clothes, sits there and bleeds until she can't feel the blood in her veins runs cold. The cat cries to be fed, the batteries in her Walkman go dead, the Rachmaninoff stops. A letter she will never read drops on the welcome mat. Somewhere a mobile rings and stops. A member of a minor political party looking for her vote rings the doorbell twice, slips in the ice and ruins his coat. Curses. A man laughs at another man's joke. It's a big laugh, he's a big bloke. Laughter invades the square. There's a chill in the air. Her best friend calls for her to go on a blind date. She does not hear. Snow, snow, snow falls. Thank you. Same lady in Happier Times. This is called Preserve. Tongues stained with blackberries, we collect kisses, falling into ditches, being stung by nettles. Your dress snags on a briar, and you cry out in mock horror. I cut my way through the tangle of thorns as if I were your prince. Charming me, you undo your buttons as you step out of your dress, as if you were stepping out of yourself. Your dress hangs like a chrysalis. You let down your golden hair and we make love then and there. A tractor and some cows go by. We laugh and try to hide. The sun beats down on my bum. We giggle and come, return to the big old dirty town and turn our blackberry picking days into luscious winter jam. This is called Crazy Loneliness, hijacks memory of a beautiful girl. Crazy loneliness hijacks memory of a beautiful girl. Last night, I missed you so much that I made love to your nightdress passionately. Now your nightdress hides from me, slinks under covers and pillows, avides my eyes. I can't take another night without you. Your nightie can't take another night with me. I'm holding your dresses hostage, threatening them with kisses, caresses, if they make one false move. Your other clothes tremble in the wardrobe. Come back to me. This is called Clothes Have No Memory. Did you dress yourself this morning, Jace? You did? Yeah, the figure's all right. So, this is called Clothes Have No Memory. Your most prized dress must confess that it cannot remember the swell of your breast, the rise and fall of your breathing. Clothes have no memory. It is winter now and your summer frock has totally forgot the sheer sunny shockingness of being underneath it all, absolutely liquorless. Kisses like butterflies alighting high, high on your inner thigh, thigh. Don't even go there, Jason. Clothes have no memory. Your bra, unhooked, unhinged, cannot really recall the thrill of it all, as my hands with each caress create your breasts. Clothes have no memory. Clothes have no memory, but I do. For my sins, I was once, back in '86, I was once Ireland's first potent residence in a secondary school. And it was very good because they got used to having a milkman, a priest man, and there was a poet man. And I'd walk down the street and all say, "Hi, Mr. Poet, hiya, poet man." And it just became ordinary that there was a poet geezer walking around the streets that they could come up to and talk to. It was very nice. I had taught only about 4 classes, and they suddenly said they needed somebody for 2C. And I was buying a free class, so I said, I'll do 2C. And they said, "You do 2C? And I go, "Well, what's wrong with 2C?" And they just sort of sniggered behind their hands and they said, "Yeah, do 2C. So I went into 2C and there was 15 Irish travellers. And the 15 Irish travellers had 15 ferrets. And I'd never seen a ferret before, and I hadn't expected all these little ferrety eyes looking at me. So I did what anybody would do in the circumstances. I said, "Whoa, what is it? Oh, a ferret." And I sat down, they became the teacher, and they gave me a brilliant lesson on ferrets. And I loved it, and I was totally knowledgeable in ferrets when I came out. And they all said, so what did you make of 2C then? I said, oh, I loved it, it was great. But there was 2C, the one at the ferret, yeah, that was great. So they really miffed that it didn't throw me. And then one time they outsourced me. So in the morning I was doing the Boy Scouts. And all my poems are about love, life, death, anything that matters. And I suddenly had to change my set to accommodate kids of age 7 to 11. And then in the afternoon they outsourced me to the old folks home, which was for the widows of British war people. And I thought, God, I didn't expect to find that in Bray, in Ireland. And there was all these old dears. And I didn't know whether to do the night dress poem or not. Last night I missed you so much. And they said, oh yes dear, you do that. Have you seen everything and all that? And I read the poem and they really liked it. And then they all started telling me about their own private love lives back in the 20s and the 30s and everything like that. And it was terrible because they all had better love lives than I had. And I thought, yeah, right. And then there was the time, young Harry. And I thought, oh. So this is Mabel. This is Mabel's voice. And Mabel was explaining cricket to me for an hour. And after an hour, I still didn't know what cricket was. And suddenly, the room went quiet and everybody went to the telly like that. And I tried to display my newfound knowledge. And I said, oh, is someone out? And it wasn't. It was a streaker. And then I thought, so that's the thing of... So I've looked at many test matches since, and I've never encountered another streaker. So, very disappointed of me. So, Mabel was telling me all about her love life, and her voice came back to me last week, and I wrote this little poem. It's called, well, Kiss My Popliteal Fossa. Sir, do you know where your popliteal fossa is? Have you ever been kissed on your popliteal fossa?
I don't know, because you have to explain me what it is.
All right. Can you come up here, please? Can I have my cane, Jason? Now, can you turn and face the audience, please? This way, face the audience. This, as you can see, is a man's knee, commonly known as the patella. Don't be fooled by women. Women have patellas as well. It isn't just a fella thing. Can you turn around, please? Now, your popliteal fossa is the little depression in the back of the knees. All these things have names. This lovely little space underneath your lip is your philtrum. So, have you ever been kissed on your philtrum? Okay, you haven't, all right? No. Sit down now. Oh, my cane. Don't be that nervous, Jason. So you got to understand this is Mabel's voice, and this is the first time I heard the phrase popliteal fossa, and it's taken me about 40 years to actually write a poem about it. So it's called, well, Kiss My Popliteal Fossa. I remember the golden tassels of my dress touching the back of my knees as I was kissed for the very first time, bent over in a clinch as if we were statuary. The tassels touch exquisite in itself, much more sensual than the actual awkward kiss, as I wondered, his tongue dancing with my tonsils, if there was a name for that sort of thing, the back of the knees, I mean. Okay, Freddie, I commanded, seeing as I seem to be in command here. That's quite enough of that. Shattered, he reluctantly took his tongue out of my cheek. Cheeky bugger, I thought, should never have let him go that far. Crestfallen, he stammered a sorry. You won't tell my mother, will you? Hid his erection with his tongue. I went in at once and asked of Father. Father, is there a name for the back of the knees? Of course there is, my love. It's your popliteal fossa. I tingled to my toes, having discovered my first erogenous zone, and knowing that one day I would become a doctor. Thank you. This is a little poem that I just have to write into. It's called I Am Infinitas. I was teaching my little girl her numbers, and I had these little wooden blocks and stuff like that. And I was watching the end of Spartacus, and it got to the climactic bit where they're going, I'm Spartacus, no, I'm Spartacus, and all that. And I said, she curled into me and waited for the end of the film to be over. And then she ran around the house going, I'm spark plugs, no, I'm spark plugs, because that's how she had heard it. So then we got onto the business of teaching her letters. So this is where this comes from. It's called I am infinitas. Here is our wooden O. It is our 0, yellow. There is a 7, but it is missing. The puppy's chewing an orange too. Puppy, puppy! You're going to be the puppy, Jason. Puppy, puppy! No, no! Oh! The admonished puppy looks astonished. Very good. This is a good chew, this orange too. It whimpers and whines. She herself is 4 and a little bit more. When will I be this one? That's an 8, I tell her. It'll take you 4 more years of being you to be it. The 8 has fallen on its side asleep, become an infinity. Ah, infinitas. My little infant, this is what you really are. This unboundedness of you, an infinity of you. Always after, when asked what her age is, she'll always answer with a hearty laugh, I am infinitas. England, and I met my first vicar. We don't have lots of vicars where I come from, and he was like Bib, the Michelin man. He just rolls and rolls of that, and he loved his garden and his flowers greater than he loved God. And he was a magnificent garden. The only garden I've seen that could equate with it was Anne Hathaway's cottage. I don't know if you've ever been in Anne Hathaway's cottage on a summer's day, and you get the lovely Shakespeare's line, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Whoa, the summer's day in Anne Hathaway's cottage would win out. So, and he told me that he talks to his plants, and that's why they grow and stuff like that. So this is called the nurture of culture. Have you a working pulse? He asked of his petunias. He went away cold as a snowball, he tells his gladioli. They positively beam at him. Oh yes, yes, he pontificates. Flowers like Shakespeare best, especially Pericles and other minor plays, rather than the Great Dane or say Othello. The herbs prefer Gilbert and Sullivan. Poor wandering one, no, no, my son, spoken, not sung. Poor wandering one. Or sometimes a little dash of no coward. What compulsion compels them, and who's that? No, no, spoken, not sung. What compulsion compels them, and who the hell tells them? What could I say? His voice produced such the fecundity, such a fertility, that his word could not be doubted. Oh yes, plants like to be spoken to, but prefer a little culture. Thank you. This is called Empty Orchestra, which is the Japanese form. Karaoke is what Japanese karaoke. Empty Orchestra. Love is just a karaoke. You think you know the words until you sing along and find you only know half a chorus or maybe a word or two, and you try to bluff your way through. Not too sure how it goes, you sing high when it sings lows, and vice versa. And at past 13 o'clock, when they're trying to shut the bloody thing down, you stand there defiantly alone with a gin and bitter lemon in one hand and a burnt out fag in the other, running mascara making you more panda-like than living doll, and croak harshly, hoarsely, out of tune and out of time, I will survive, and crying. It's all right, darling. We've all been there sometime. You may have noticed that Jason, when he's sitting in the front, has become a human prop that will teach you never to sit in the front seat. And Jason thought he was doing well because he got to hold the stick. Would you see that? That's what it amounts to. This is a book called Being Dragged Across the Carpet by the Cat. I'll just read one poem out of that.
That on sale at the front desk, Dónall?
Oh, they're at sale at the front desk for €5, that happens.
That.
My friend was just about to die, and before she died, she got a little kitten. And then she died, and the kitten went out in the garden, and it couldn't be found. And we had her urn, and we had her up in the mantelpiece, and the kitten suddenly re-emerges, comes into the room, jumps on the mantelpiece, knocks over her urn, and all the ashes get spread on the carpet. And then he just walks her across, and you see all her ashes in paw prints. So that's how the title comes. We've been dragged across the carpet by the cat. However, this is about my Uncle Michael. We went back to Cork, and we used to have a beautiful farm called Ballet, and it was sort of like my Fern Hill. Everything happened there. That's where I was most happiest. The wealth of Cork is in its people, and one of them is Uncle Michael. I was going for an interview when I was 14, because it wasn't known that I'd even get as far as secondary school. So I went for this interview to be a technician or something like that, and I failed it because I was no good at maths. And they were trying to put me at my ease, and they said, "Who are your heroes?" And I immediately answered, "My Uncle Michael, my Uncle Sean, and my dad." And they said, "No, you're real heroes." And I thought it was a trick question. I go, "My Uncle Shawnee, my Uncle Michael, and my dad," because they were the heroes that I had when I was small. So this is called Uncle Michael, alias God. His hands tobacco stained, twisted and gnarled, knotted like an alive piece of wood, scrawled gestures across my mind as a sick calf bucked in his arms and his quiet strength calmed. "Shh, shh, suck, suck," he crooned, and the sound soothed. And the veins like vines ran up and down his arms, pumping crude life like a sudden sketch to suggest the gist of rather than the meaning of things. And he walked, and I ran towards Granny's garden like God tending Eden. And the gate a little horse sighed at his hand, and the leaves murmured like worshippers in a church congregation. And the sunlight genuflected through the trees, and the trees wore socks and apples. A tablecloth was laid on a loganberry bush. And the young tree gave herself to him, broke tenderly in his hand. And the knife whistled and whittled, and out of the branch came a man. And he told me, and I believed him because he was good as God and strong, that the little wooden man, the silent statue, had been waiting all the time already mad, waiting to be released from his prison of wood. "All things," he whispered, "all things are waiting for you to call them. Call them to come out, awake them, create them." The rhododendrons were blue with amazement. At this revelation, a dragonfly walked upon the water. A butterfly became infatuated with a flower. Me, I watched as his hands talked, explaining things that could not be said. And he took my hand in his, and I understood, flowed like a little stream into this big river, felt God close, near at hand, and smiling. This is called The Smell of Purple, and we launched it in New Delhi in India last January. So I'll read the title poem about that. My little girl came in to me. My little girl was the person who taught me the world all over again as I'd never seen it. And she came in and announced that she could smell colours. So this is the smell of purple. Because I immediately said, what's purple smell like, Tilly? And this is the answer I got. She says she can smell yellow. She says she can smell blue, despite not being able to spell either colour. Yellow smells the same as blue, like a wet kitty drying by the fire. Red smells like mummy when she kisses. Her kisses smell different when she kisses you. Then she smells like flames with little orange tips. Purple is my favourite smell. It smells just like a magic spell. I kiss her goodnight like violet, only lighter, with little flecks of purple scattered here and there. We were a very naked family. Mum, dad, little girl went around in the nip and thought no more of it. And in the morning at 4 o'clock, Tilly would come to our bed and she would just treat us as a mountain of female and male flesh, and she just used to bomb in and jump on top of us. She'd invariably land on my wife's left breast or on my left testicle. Jason, I don't know if you ever had your testicles trodden on. You wake up like that, you know, sir. That's got nothing to do with that whatsoever. This is another time when we've been to a cocktail party, darling, and we have very much the worse for wear altogether. Tilly, who does not live in the adult world, is going to come in at 4 o'clock anyway. She's going to fall into the bed. And this is called I Feel Pretty. Oh, so pretty. I awake, covered in glorious glitter, smelling strongly of PVA glue, sticking to my cheek, very hungover, and covered in blue, orange, yellow, red feathers. A bubble recently blown perched upon my nose. I still half comatose. Tiny bubbles travel amongst my curls, as through a bigger bubble brightly, nestling neatly over my right eye. I observe my tiny daughter purse her lips and kiss more bubbles into being. Dilly! I force my lips, still frozen in sleep, to somehow speak. What you do? See, even my sentence structure and syntax is shot. She smiles sweetly. I'm pretty. We get to the end. I think an end is necessary. My wife and I longed to have a child, and we had great fun practicing, but as yet, no baby has yet materialized. So we went for test after the test, and we had only one last test to undergo. This is probably too much information for you, Jason. But it was to see whether the fallopian tubes were clear. Yeah? Okay, Jason understands. If none of you understands, Jason will explain it to you. Yeah? So fallopian tube testing, you get your thing. It's cancelled. It happens every 6 months. So when it's cancelled, that's another 6 months. That's a year. Another 6 months, that's a year and a half, and we're waiting for these bloody fallopian tubes to be there, open or not open. And we fell pregnant. Don't ask me how I done it. You notice I used the royal we there, yes? And my wife was Finnish, and I used to sleep down by her belly, and I used to sing songs in Irish. Very little Irish. I used to have the sort of patchwork of sound. Altogether of little phrases that I knew, songs that I knew. And she used to say, I don't know what you're saying, but it's putting me to sleep, so keep singing and talking. But that's the effect I have on women. I send them asleep. It's okay, we got it right. So this is going to be half in Irish, and it's going to be half in English. Don't worry about the Irish bit, I'll explain as I go along. The poem is actually called Oscailga, which means in Irish. Dún the Sula, close your eyes. Cuddle go lá ma grá sieve, sleep until day, my gentle love. Cuddle go sov, sleep peacefully, peacefully. I rock and Gaelic shaw is rocky gun green shafi. This moon will rise, this sun will set. Aragus grá I goni, care and love always. Gach has got law is got iha, every night, every day, every night. My plurin, my story, my mooring, my little flower, my little treasure, my little darling. Ach anish, but now, cuddle gasov gasiv, sleep peacefully, gently, gafonya and lay, until the break of day, the misha or the tave, with me by your side. Losing our baby late into the night, holding this little thing that only attempted to be human, unable to let go, I clasped the fetus tightly in my hand and buried it in the dawn of our local park under a recently planted red rose bush. In my grief, flower and baby became one, and night after night I climbed over high railings and even higher stars to talk to her in the dark in Irish, or sing my love is like a red, red rose, cry, or cry. Almost got arrested one night by an Irish cop, drawn to the sound of Irish emerging from the darkness. Guess he let me go because it wouldn't look good on a charge sheet. The defendant was talking and crying to a flower in Irish. Éist, éist, listen, listen. Dinna egin ekina, someone is crying in a darkasan, in his darkness. Phil, Phil Aruno, oh ho, Filaruno is not imio, Florum acushla sto, oh, Civic to and glow. Thank you.